Well, hello, everyone. My name is Guy Giordano. I am the senior pastor here at Slocum Chapel. We're so glad you tuned in to join us today. And we just pray and hope that the message that's preached today will touch your heart and you will sense God's presence in your life today. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you soon.
Is everybody alive and well? Oh, it must have been a rough weekend. I went hiking in Massachusetts. Me and Lori did a mountain up there. And we went to this beautiful art bazaar. And believe me, it was bizarre. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the Sabbath, Shabbat. I love that word Shabbat. I see that in the Chosen. That's the Hebrew word. Rest, reflect, recharge, and restore. Shabbat. That's the name. It's one part this week and the second part next week. Tilly, I'll get you all the slides for next week. So let's start off with something funny. There's a rabbi who's an avid golfer. And he loves to play at every opportunity he gets. And he says one Sunday, he says, I think I could squeeze one in before service. He said, I'm going to sneak out, and who's going to know? So looking down upon him was God and all the angels. And the angel said, look what the rabbi's doing on the Sabbath. What are you going to do about it, Almighty God? God says, don't worry, man. I'll teach him a lesson. So on the golf course, the rabbi teed off, and he hit the ball. Bounced off a tree, it struck a rock, flew across the stream, and landed in a hole-in-one. I believe it was 435 yards. That's a miracle. Anybody golf here knows that's like a miracle. Seeing all this, the angel yelled at God, oh, Holy One, I thought you were going to teach him a lesson today. He says, I am. Who's he going to tell? It's the Sabbath, right? That's right. For those that didn't get it, don't tell them. Don't tell them. Just let them work it out. So let's start off here. Man, I'm loud. Is it loud in here? Can we turn me down a little bit? I'm getting blown out up here myself. So we're going to go, and this is it in my notes. Just looking for Genesis 1 and 2. I think, did you get it? Oh, thank God. All right. So in Genesis 1 and 2, this is where this all began. We got to go back in time a little bit. You know, Jesus, for 6 days, he put this whole earth together, right? For 6 days. He did the water, he did light, he did the sun, the moon, the stars, land, separated the waters, right? Then he created man in his own image. And then he says here in Genesis 2, thus the heavens and the earth were completed and all their hosts. And on the seventh day, God completed his work which he had done. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. God rested. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because on it he rested from all his work which God had created in making it. I think God just wanted to step back and say, yeah, look what I did. Right? But he rested. He rested. John Lubbock said this, rest is not idleness and to lie sometimes on the grass under the trees on a summer's day. Listening to the murmur of water or watching the clouds float across the sky is by no means a waste of time. Some like that, right? So the question today is, honestly, who here is truly tired, burned out, lugging the heavy load? You're wiped clean, you're shot. How about hands up? Who's really, let's be realistic, who's Pastor Guy? I know you and me are. This is why we're at this point, you know? You know when you're tired, when you're sitting in the kitchen and someone sneaks up on you and says, what are you doing? Oh, I was putting this puzzle together. And I said to my wife, honey, put the Frosted Flakes back in the box. She says, I knew it wasn't making Tony the Tiger. That's when you know you're tired, right? When you ever get so tired you're doing crazy things? Okay, I'm in the right church here, right? I'm preaching to someone right up front. Somebody is definitely tired. Matt, you tired? All the time. So it's like this. It's time to power down. How many of you ever had your cell phone where you had shut it off, and let it sit a moment and let it restart. You ever have to do that? All of us, right? So our cell phone even gets tired. That's funny. It's got a brain like a computer brain, but we think we could just keep running. Even the Energizer Bunny gets tired. He needs new batteries, right? This all began, this whole sermon. I wrote this a while ago. It was supposed to, and I'm still working on it. And Pastor Guy and Pastor Dan and Pastor James and Pastor Jack Munley, and then even my doctor, I walk in, she goes, Chris, you look like hell. That's what she said. And I'm like, well, thank God I'm not there, but I sometimes feel like I am, right? I feel like I have no joy, like I'm drained. She goes, you're exhausted. You're exhausted. And I started to think, like, we just keep going and pushing and pushing and pushing. And we think we can't break. We think we're like Superman and Wonder Woman, but we're truly not. Right, Lori? Right. You're trying to be Wonder Woman. You try. Guy tries to be Superman at the church and everything we do. I do it. Most of us here push the American way. Keep pushing till you get there. So through the Bible, I'm reading, I'm studying. I said, man, I want to know what this Sabbath is about because I'm ignoring it. I was ignoring it. I'm not going to lie. You know, that commandment, that's optional, I'm thinking, right? I got it wrong. So one of my first books I read was Kasuki Koyama, 3 Mile an Hour God. He wrote a book. Love has its speed. It is a spiritual speed. It is different kind of speed from the technological speed to which we are accustomed. It goes on in the depth of our life, whether we notice it or not. At 3 miles an hour, it is the speed we walk, and therefore the speed the love of God walks. Thank God, God is patient, slow, and waits upon us. Because we are challenging people, aren't we? I mean, you ever think like God, that's like, is she ever going to rest? Is he ever going to rest? Do they not listen? Do they not know I care? How much I love them? And we just keep going. Well, the Greek word anapausis is the word for cessation or rest. That's what that word is. The Bible speaks of rest from the beginning to end, from Genesis to the back of the Bible. It's woven into the creation in Genesis. In Exodus, Moses receives 10 commandments. Which commandment? Who here knows all 10 commandments? Like right now, if I pull out, you know them all by heart, Tilly. That's nice. So we have one person here. Who doesn't know all the 10 commandments? Raise your hand. So that means the rest of you. Okay. All right. Let's do a side detour. Everybody get your hands out. Ready? We're going to teach a lesson. Hands out. You guys are not playing well. Hands out. Put one up. Number 1 commandment. One God. Number 2, like scissors, cut out any idols. Right? Number 3, it's like a W. Watch your words. Don't take the Lord's name in vain. Number 4 Sundays in every month. Shabbat. Sabbath. Keep the Lord's Day Sabbath, right? Holy. We want to do that. Number 5, honor your mother and father, or else you get this. It's this or this, right? Right? Number 6, put your hands up. Thou shalt not kill. Wrong. Thou shalt not kill. Gun, Number 7, 5 and 2. 5 and 2. 2 are meant to be a marriage, to become one. Nobody else belongs, okay? Do not commit adultery. Number 8, thou shalt not lie. Oh, no, is it? No, thou shalt not steal, sorry, because in some countries they cut your thumbs off, right? Number 9, we have 5 and 4 is 9. 9's close enough to 10, right, guys? Let's just call it 10. Thou shalt not lie. 10 is 10, 9's 9. And number 10, greedy. Thou shalt not envy. Not do this, all this. So that's the simple way. You know what? I didn't know the 10 Commandments before I learned that. I said, man, that's awesome. Now I know them. So that was something to help you. So number 4 is what we're going to focus on these next 2 weeks, the Sabbath. Exodus 20 is where we're going to jump to. And I was a nice guy this week. I even put them on slides for you guys. Exodus 28. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is Sabbath of Yahweh your God. In it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter, your male or female slave, or your cattle or your sojourner who is within your gates. For the 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, and sea and all that is in them, and he rested on the 7th day. Therefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day, and he made it holy. All right, sorry. I'm a little off today. All God's people, servants, animals, slaves, were commanded to have 1 out of 7 to rest. We are commanded as people to rest. You know what? It's funny, even the soil, do you know that even the soil gets rest in the Bible? If we look in Leviticus 25, 1 through 7, Yahweh then spoke to Moses at Mount Sinai, saying, speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, when you come into the land which I am giving you, then the land shall have a Sabbath to Yahweh. How about that? Even dirt gets a day off. Right? 6 years you shall sow your field, and 6 years you shall prune your vineyard and gather its produce. But during the 7th year, the land shall have a Sabbath rest, a Sabbath to Yahweh. You shall not sow your field nor prune your vineyard. What grows of its own accord from your harvest shall not reap, and your grapes of untrimmed vines you shall not gather. The land shall have a sabbatical year. And the Sabbath produce of the land shall be for food, for you and your male and female slaves and your hired men and your foreign resident, those who sojourn with you. Even your cattle and beasts that are in your land shall have all its produce to eat. So even the land gets a Sabbath. Does that not sound important? Like God took the day off to say, hey, look what I did, right? He tells us our animals need to rest. The slaves are everyone, our workers. And then he says, even the dirt and the soil I put on this planet needs a sabbatical. That must be important. Rest means we need to trust in God for everything. Faith he will provide. God doesn't rest, but he commands us to. God doesn't need. You think God said, man, I'm tired. I need, like really. God doesn't get tired. It's an example for us, I believe. And maybe he just wanted to sit back and, like an artist when you're painting or after you build something, you look back and you take that step back and you're like, yeah, I like that. Maybe that's what God was doing. I don't know. I'm not God. But he took that day off and he wants us to do the same. Relax is to become less firm, to loosen our grip on our lives, our family, our work, and show God we trust him. When we relax, we show God we trust him. Anapausis is Yahweh adding to your life by taking away. A famous passage from St. Augustine, the Confessions of AD 400, says this: great are you, O Lord, exceedingly worthy of praise. Your power is immense and your wisdom beyond reckoning. And so we men, who are due part of your creation, long to praise you. We also carry our mortality about with us, carry the evidence of our sin, and with it the proof that you thwart the proud. You arouse us so that praising you may bring us joy, because you have made us and drawn us to yourself. And our heart is restless until it rests in you. That's the punchline that comes through. We won't rest, people, until we truly rest in God. You think watching TV's rest? It's not. There's studies the TV just is draining, especially when you go to bed and you have the TV on the blue light and all that. It's draining you. Shut the lights off. Close your eyes and pray till you fall asleep. That's how I go to bed every night. People are exhausted, but people just refuse the rest that they need. Tim Delena says it like this. I love this line. The whole world is bankrupt. It's just that not everybody has declared bankruptcy yet. I have. I finally did. Studying these passages, reading these books, I've declared bankruptcy. God, I can't go. I'm beat. I'm smoked. I'm out of steam. I need you. You know what? Get truthful with yourself. Stop fighting it all. You fight through it. We're stubborn. Stubborn. You know, stubborn as a mule? Stubborn. Sheep just don't listen. Here we are. Look at Psalm 23. David says, Yahweh is my shepherd, I shall not want. Well, what does I shall not want? There has to be a reason that he's saying this. Because he trusts in God. He makes me lie down in green pastures. I love that. Makes me. Bernard, I'm going to make you wash my car. What does that mean? I'm forcing you to do something. He makes us lie down in green pastures. Why? Because we won't on our own. So he's got to force us to, right? And then he says he leads me beside quiet waters. Why is that? He has to lead us. It's like taking somebody by the hand, a little kid, and saying, let's go. I don't care. Like, I had to go to church. You're either going to church on Saturday when I was raised Catholic, or you're going to get beat and you're going to church anyway. You're just going to not be able to sit too well in the pew. And their pews were hard. They're wood. They got no cushions. But like my mother drugged me along. God's like saying, hey, I'm going to make you lie down in a green pasture, and I'm going to show you where the still waters are. I have so much for you guys. You need this rest. And then he says what? He restores our soul. We just got to stop. But we won't stop. The body is physically worn out from constant overuse. Amen? The soul is directed by the mind. It's mentally exhausted from making all these decisions. Information. We're processing information constantly. Do you know the average adult makes 35,000 decisions a day, whether trivial or major ones? 35,000 decisions, right? You're deciding, should I listen to Pastor Chris right now, or should I not off? Should I look at my cell phone? What's on sale at Amazon? Should I look at what the menu is today? Like all these questions that are going through our minds. What are we doing after church? Where are we going to eat? Where are we going to go? Should I drive? Should I go here? Like what? Constantly. Simple things. You have to think through, I'm going to open the door. I'm going to walk through the door. I got to go to work. Lori probably doesn't even shut off when she goes home from work. She's like, I got to do this, right? And the list goes on. But what God's saying is, you got to stop, man. You got to shut it off. You got to power down. Thus, this all affects our spirit. So when we're tired, you ever been so tired you're like, I can't pray. I can't read my Bible. Like God's like crumbs. You ate the big meal and God, I'm going to give you. You're falling asleep at night. You're like, you open your Bible, you're 2 sentences and you're passed out. You know? We're tired. You come to church tired. You go to pray and you're so tired. You're like, you ever go to pray and you just pass out? I mean, like really. This is what happens to our spirit when we neglect our spirit, when we're not doing Shabbat. We're winding down. And guess what happens then? When you're tired, guess who's waiting? Who's waiting? Devil, right? Sun Tzu says it like this. Do you guys anybody know who Sun Tzu is? Sun Tzu was a Chinese military general strategist, a philosopher and a writer. He wrote the book, The Art of War. It emphasizes the strategic advantage of waiting the exhausted enemy at your ease, meaning to wear down the enemy through a prolonged engagement and then strike when he's weak. This involves tiring the enemy through clever tactics and avoiding direct confrontation when they're at their peak. The devil doesn't like us at our peak, does he? Sun Tzu says like this: when the enemy is at ease, be able to weary him. When well fed, starve him. When at rest, to make him move. Appear at places to which he must hasten. Move swiftly where he does not expect you. Satan waits. What's it say in Peter? He roams around, prowling around like a roaring lion, waiting to devour us. How many know when Satan attacks when we have no rest? Anybody ever hear the word halt? H-A-L-T. You guys ain't going to forget this. Halt. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Man, what did Sun Tzu just say? It's funny. He's saying this, but God said this ages ago. Why do you think we need rest? When we get hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, the devil is already like, I got you. You want to strike like Sun Tzu says. You want to strike when you're already beat down. I don't want to get you. I'm not going to get you when you walk out of church. You're all fired up and ready to go. You're ready to take on the world, storm the gates of hell. Devil's like, just wait. They're going to get tired. They're going to wear down. They're going to get to halt. You remember let's go back to the blue law. Anybody remember blue law? Probably, yeah, we're all dating ourselves, right? Remember everything was closed on Sunday? Do you remember that or no? Are you too young? The blue law. Like everything, dude, like you couldn't get gasoline at certain areas. There was no, Sugarman's was closed. Remember? Sugarman's was closed Sunday. Like Saturday, you had to hurry up by 9 p.m. to get what you want, because Sunday, like there was tumbleweed rolling through Einan, in Dixon City. All that was closed. Now everybody's like, it's open. There's an island in Tonga, that's outside Australia. It's the only country in the world that's officially closed on Sundays. Do you know it's against the law? It's illegal and punishable fine or imprisonment if you work, unless you're a hospital or police, right? Or they have resorts with special permits for tourists. The king of Tonga was baptized a Christian, and he made this rule. Go to church, eat, and sleep on Sunday. What a beautiful thing. Wouldn't it be nice if we just powered down? But Sunday, everything's on. Football games are on. Why don't they move them to Saturday? The kids, they directly put kids in like Sundays where people can't even go to church. Oh, my kid's got a game. Well, I always think like, what's more important, God or the game? And what are you showing these children? That football's more important than being at church. It's a terrible thing. Should push that off to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, those football. But they start them early in the morning, right when we need to be in church. They don't care. They don't care. Rest today has a bad reputation in our culture, doesn't it? Rest today means you're lazy. You're lazy. Bosses hate it because time is money, isn't it? But it's funny, they're on vacation. As long as you're working, Lori, as long as you're working, as long as you're all working. The boss says he's on vacation. He's doing Shabbat. He don't even know he's on vacation. He's got to rest. But the rest of us keep working because time is money. The ultimate rest, though, is found in Jesus. He invites all of humanity to come. All of humanity. And he says here in Matthew 11, 28 through 30. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. You know how many times we've heard that in our life? I know you've all heard that line in Scripture. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. We hear it. How many times do we hear something in the Bible like, yeah, you hear it, you know it, you can recite it, you're failing in the application department. We are failing in the application department of seeking rest. Truly. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. In the Message it says, I love it, it says, are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Come as you are to the foot of the cross, people. But so many people are like, when I get time, when I get this straightened out, when I quit smoking, when I quit cursing, when I quit doing this, I'm not ready. Dude, you're not going to, you can't fix you. Did you figure that out yet? I'm 51 years old. I figure I cannot fix me. I have to run to that foot of that cross and say, Jesus, help me. As I am, you take me, you mold me, and you make me what you want me to be, truly in you. That's where we got to be. I'm going to encourage you guys to read the book, The Ragamuffin Gospel. I read this book before I came to this church, and I says, that's this church. If anybody ever read Brendan Manning's book, The Ragamuffin Gospel? Anybody? You did. I did. You did? Is that not Slocum Chapel? Right, Jolie? It's just, this is Slocum Chapel to a T. You read the book, you're like, oh, these are my people. I want to read from you This is his introduction. The Ragamuffin Gospel is written with a specific reading audience in mind. The book is not for the super spiritual. It's not for the muscular Christians who've made John Wayne and not Jesus their hero. It's not for academics who would imprison Jesus in their ivory tower of exegesis. It's not for the noisy, feel-good folks who manipulate Christianity to a naked appeal of emotion. It's not for the hooded mystics who want magic in their religion. It's not for the Alleluia Christians who live on only the mountaintop and have never visited the valley of desolation. It is not for the fearless or the tearless. It's not for the red-hot zealots who boast with the rich young ruler of the Gospels. All these commandments I've kept from my youth. It is not for the complacent who hoist over their shoulders a tote bag of honors, diplomas, good works, actually believing they made it. It's not for legalists who would rather surrender control of their souls to rules that run the risk of living in union with Jesus. If anyone is still reading along, the Ragamuffin Gospel was written for the beraggling, the beat up, the burned out. It is for the sorely burdened who are shifting the heavy suitcase from one hand to the other. It's for the wobbly and weak-kneed who don't know they have it all together and are too proud to accept the handout of amazing grace. It's for the inconsistent, unsteady disciples whose cheese is falling off their crackers. It's for the poor, the weak, the sinful men and women with hereditary faults and limited talents. It's for the earthen vessels who shuffle along on feet of clay. It's for the bent and the bruised who feel their lives are a grave disappointment to God. It is for the smart people who knew they are too stupid and honest disciples who admit that they are scallywags. The Ragamuffin Gospel is a book I wrote for myself and anyone who has grown weary and discouraged along the way. I think we're a bunch of ragamuffins here. I really believe that. And we have to come to the foot of the cross and say, Jesus, you're my only answer. You're the one who's going to give me rest. Like St. Augustine said, until we find rest in him, we are restless. Come, let go of the burdens, the stress, the bitterness, the unforgiveness, your money troubles, strained relationships, drugs, alcohol, sexual issues, the hate and the envy bottled up inside. Come to me, Jesus is calling. Everyone who found the end of themselves, who have run out of road and options, who can't go another step, especially for those who have finally figured out their way of doing things on this planet just doesn't work. You guys figured that out yet? Your way ain't working? Jesus says in John 15, what's he say? I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him, he bears much fruit. For apart from me, you could do nothing. What does that mean? Nothing. I had to research that. So that means if I'm not a Christian, I can't work a job. I can't ride a motorcycle. I think that nothing is anything of good value that holds to the kingdoms when our rewards are there. When good and faithful, well done, good and faithful servant at the end. That's what. You could do nothing of value and true honor in the heavens. Oh, sure, there's people living without God. You see it every day, how lost they are. In Christ you find love, peace, comfort, and healing. And a life apart is total emptiness. Who was empty before they came to Christ here? Who was empty? Who remembers that? And then when you come to Christ, you're like, wow, everything is different. Everything has changed. The question is, who or what are you abiding in today? Let's go to John 15. Who or what are you abiding in? We all have a source we are connected to. You have a default setting, a root connection. It's where you go when you're upset, you're scarred, you're worried. It's where you go when you have physically free time and you're bored. It's where we go after our bills are paid and sometimes not paid. It's where you run when you're exhausted, you're burned out, and you're at the end of your rope. And like Pastor Guy always says, when you're busted and disgusted. What's your default setting? It's where you go when you're hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. Where do you go? Do you go to pornography? Do you go to the bottle? Do you go to Amazon? Do you go pick up the phone and talk about somebody? I mean, these are things that the default setting needs to be changed. We need a new default setting. He says, apart from me, you could do nothing. Abide in me. Be part of me. When the vine and the branches are connected, the vitamins and everything keeps flowing. But when we separate, we die. We all make something our refuge. But if it's not Jesus, it's destined to fail. It's going to fail you. We must find true rest in Christ alone. There's nothing like Jesus to fill us. So what makes Jesus' yoke easy and his burden light? You ever think about that? My yoke is easy and my burden's light. Someone asked me one day, like, what does that actually even mean? Some think my yoke is easy. It's like avoiding responsibility or effort. It's like laziness. No, that's not what it is. The Christian life has never been promised easy, right? It requires dedication, commitment, willingness to grow in faith. And how many know there's definitely trials and temptations, right? You come to know Christ and you got more problems before you got to know Christ, right? The problems have changed. But now you have someone who walks with you, as he says, I will walk with you through the valley of shadow of death. That word through, I keep remembering through. We're not stopping. We're not setting up camp. We're going through it. Like he told the disciples. They're on a boat. He goes to sleep. They all freak out. Jesus gets up and he's like, what's the problem? I told you, like, we're going to the other side. Didn't say there was going to be no storms in life. Right, Tim? There's going to be storms. We're going to make it though, brother. Jesus says we're going to make it. This easiness refers to the fact that we're not striving alone. When we're yoked with God, we're relying on his strength and following his guidance. Yoke, 2 oxen share a yoke, a harness. 1 seasoned ox trained for years of a routine, and the second ox is a young ox totally inexperienced. This is what the yoke is. By sharing yoke, the older teaches the younger. The older draws harder to bear the majority of the load. Jesus is taking the majority of the load. The younger doesn't have to wonder what he has to do. He just has to learn from the master. He's got it. He's doing the heavy lifting. He's got you. Are you connected? Like he says, apart from me, you can do nothing. Are you yoked? The path might not always be smooth, but ultimately it leads to a place of peace when we rest. Jesus' own act of obedience to the cross wasn't easy by any means, was it? He carried out what we were meant to carry and pay the price that we could never pay. How about we could just rest in knowing that alone? We could right there, we could just rest in that, knowing Jesus made a way back to the Father. If nothing else, he made a way for us to go to heaven, to be with the Father. Jesus teaches us he is the master. He is the rabbi. Japanese, it's sensei. In Mandarin, it's shifu. In Cantonese, it's sifu. That's what we call our masters in martial arts. But in the Bible, he's master. He's rabbi. He teaches his disciples. Jesus says 22 times in the New Testament. 22 times. What did he say? Follow me. That must be pretty important. We keep saying that. It's like when your parents keep telling you the same thing over and over. They really must mean what they say because they're nagging me. Remember that? Mom's nagging. Jesus is nagging you. Follow me. Why? Because he said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Follow me. So when we look at these 5 steps of leadership development, that's the next one. This goes for everything in life. I do, you watch, we talk. I do, you help, we talk. You do, I help, we talk. You do, I watch, we talk. You do, someone else watches. Is that not Jesus teaching us? We watch him. We listen to him. And then he says, hey, it's your turn. Peter, John, Andrew, it's your turn. Tim, Bernard, it's your turn. It's your turn. Diane, it's your turn now. It's your turn. I'm giving you your turn. I'm going to watch you. And when you fall, I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to be there for you. And then there's a debriefing time after. Phil's not here. And I'm going to simplify that simple church book. Ready? This is easy. If we just learn to get this right and we learn from the master, we debrief, we say, what worked? what didn't work, and what's got to change so it can work. What else do we, why do we need a book to figure this church out? We follow the book of Acts, what they did. What worked? What do? We do these programs, we do these things. That works. This doesn't work. We got to change it so it becomes working, right? And we all need this time of debriefing. Are we learning from Jesus, the rabbi, our master? Are we learning? And are we leaning on him? Are we leaning on him? My yoke is easy, my burden is light. Are you connected? Are you yoked up with him? Are you still trying to push through, shifting your suitcase from one hand to the other as you're weary and tired? John Maxwell says that he has similar processes. When equipping people, most leaders stop at 4, but the best leaders who have tapped into their multiplication potential go all the way to step 5. You do, someone else watches. There has to be, you learn, we become disciples, and when the new person walks through those doors, we disciple them. That's our jobs. That's our jobs. The process to complete the circle from rabbi to disciple to rabbi. Jesus teaches us. We teach the new believer. The new believer learns. He follows. He walks. Same thing. We just walk. And it just keeps going as we build the kingdom. He's coming. He's coming one day. Are we all going to be ready? So if Jesus is telling us rest, shouldn't we be doing it? We just went over. Rabbi, I do. You watch, we talk. Right? You do. I help, we talk. So if Jesus is taking a nap, don't you think we should nap? If Jesus is resting and pulling away from the crowds, shouldn't we pull away? If God rested after he worked 6 days on this awesome earth, and he rested, you do, I watch, we talk. Right? You do, someone else watches. Who are we teaching about rest? Me and Guy, we hound each other on the phone. I tell him Monday, have a great Monday. I might say, hey, how's Barb feeling? That's it. There's no church text. So-and-so's messed up. This one needs a prayer. No, that could wait. That's Shabbat for Pastor Guy. Monday is Pastor Guy's Shabbat. Mine's Saturday. So sometimes people call and then if it's an emergency, of course our phones are always open. But there has to be a time for that. We're going to get that part too. Pastor Brian Nixon says, it's a joy to follow someone who loves you. Come on, right? Pastor Guy loved me enough to take me under his wing. It's a joy to follow him and Barb. They've taken me and Lori so far in this walk. Back to I do, you watch, we talk. I do, you help. And it goes right through that. And if we follow that as we follow our rabbi, then we can learn and we can teach the next person. Follow him. Walk like he does. Imitate the rabbi. What's the point of all this? If you're truly following the rabbi, are you resting? See, we're back to square one. Are you following the commandment? Rest. Christ's first coming did not abolish rest. It ushered in a deeper kind of rest than the Sabbath could ever offer. The true meaning of Sabbath derived from the Hebrew word Shabbat. It means to cease, a day of rest and worship, a time to pause from daily routines and focus on God, family, and reflection. Yet even though Jesus never broke the fourth commandment, right, he was hinting that there was a change to Sabbath coming in the New Testament. You guys with me, right? D.A. Carson says it like this. He sums it up. Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath is not only a messianic claim of grand proportions, but it raises a possibility of a future change or reinterpretation of the Sabbath in precisely the same way that he has professed superiority over the temple raises certain possibilities about ritual law. Rest on the Sabbath is now being offered in Christ himself. As we read in Matthew 12, we're going to go 1 to 8. At the time Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath and his disciples became hungry and began to pick the heads of the grain and eat. But when the Pharisees saw this, they said, look, your disciples do what is not lawful on the Sabbath. But he said to them, have you not read what David did when he became hungry he and his companions, how he entered the house of God, and they ate and consecrated bread, which was not lawful for him to eat, nor for the priests alone. Or have you not read the law that the Sabbath, the priests in the temple break the Sabbath and are innocent? But I say to you, something greater than the temple is here. But if you had known what this means, I desire compassion and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the innocent. For the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. What rationale does Jesus give to justify disobedience in the Sabbath? What is he saying when we break that down? You know how people are. You know, we hear it. Oh, you should do it. There's 613 laws, I believe? 613 Jewish laws. Like, you go to Israel, you can't push the elevator button. Do you know that? The elevator stops at every floor. So they say if you go to Israel, the rabbi was telling me and my wife, he's like, don't get it. Take the stairs. It's quicker because it stops. If it's 20 floors, you're stopping at 20 floors. Don't work. Don't touch the buttons. That sounds a little ridiculous, right? Reason one, Jesus have said, didn't you see what David did when he and his companions were hungry? That's because the disciples were hungry. It was permissible for them to satisfy their hunger, which is very minor work. Reason number two, verses 5 and 6. Have you read the law of the Sabbath? The priests in the temple break the Sabbath and yet are innocent. But I tell you one greater than temples here. That's because it is permissible for priests to work on the Sabbath because of sacred duties. It's permissible for disciples of the Messiah to do the same for official duties. And reason number three is, if you only know the meaning, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. This is more complex, but essentially we have two reasons rolled into one. Mercy feeding hungry is greater than the need for the Sabbath, and one greater than the priest is here, namely Jesus, who is Lord of the Sabbath. That recaps the two previous. Right? Then Jesus illustrates here as we go down. And departing from here, he went into the synagogue. And behold, a man was there whose hand was withered. And they questioned Jesus, saying, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? So that they might accuse him. And he said to them, what man is there among you who has sheep? And if he falls into the pit on the Sabbath, will not take hold of him and lift him out? How much more valuable then is a man than a sheep? So then it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Then he said to the man, stretch your hand out. He stretched out and was restored to normal like the other. But going out, the Pharisees took counsel together again as they looked to see how they might destroy him. What's he saying here? Love takes precedence over the law. He gets back to love. What's more important? Loving someone or this? He gave the illustration of sheep falling in a hole. So what? The Sabbath, you let him die? Because it's Sabbath? Mark even records here, which is lawful on a Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill? And yet the Pharisees remained silent. They had nothing left to say, did they? You know, the Pharisees had a law forbidding practicing medicine unless life was in danger. These laws were above human needs. They didn't see, they just saw the laws. Sabbath laws do not restrict deeds of necessity, service to God, or acts of mercy. Sabbath law is never intended to be a yoke or bondage for us. Sabbath laws, God made allowances in the law, but the Pharisees had their priorities all confused. Jesus is declaring that humanity was not made to serve the Sabbath, but the Sabbath was to serve us, right? God made Shabbat for our benefit. It's a gift. It's a gift. But the Pharisees turned it into a burden, and then they punished the people. They took what God gave us and they twisted it with laws. Jesus isn't saying blow off the Sabbath, but don't let it become a hindrance. Don't make it a prison. The Pharisees made it a prison. There are times that we break Shabbat for certain things, like he said. Two passages in particular from Paul spell out the implications of Jesus' lordship over the Sabbath. That would be Colossians 2:16 and 17. So don't let anyone condemn you for what you eat or drink, or for not celebrating certain holy days or new moon ceremonies or Sabbaths. For these rules are only shadows of the reality yet to come. And Christ himself is that reality. And in Romans 14, In the same way, some think one day is more holy than another day, while others think every day is alike. You should each be fully convinced in whichever day you choose is acceptable. But choose. I'm not saying don't choose, but find a day that works for you. Paul is stating the freedom we have in the Sabbath. Don't intimidate or judge one another from it. You should be convinced in your mind, what day do I need? You know? So is Sabbath on Saturday or is it on Sunday? That leaves me before I close real quick. Originally considered Saturday because it's the seventh day of the week. That's when God rested from when he did 6 days. He worked. But then Christ resurrected on Sunday. In the New Testament, including the book of Acts, there's no command to change over to Sunday. But it just shifted that way because worship occurred organically as Christians celebrated the resurrection. That's how we come to Sunday. So Seventh-day Adventists are still on Saturday. We're doing Sunday. It's all good as long as we're praising the Lord, man, right? Right? The change is not a replacement for the Sabbath, but an emergence of a new day to worship, reflecting the reality of his resurrection. When Jesus brought forth the new covenant, many things changed. But Paul states in Romans, we got to work this out. Your Sabbath may be Monday or whatever. You might have to piece it together. You might be Friday night to Saturday, right? You have to work this out. That's what Paul's saying. But we must rest. We must take time. We're burning out. And guess what? It's self-inflicted. God told us. Here's all the rules. This is the rule book. Next week, we're going to look at how do we unpack this, the impact, the benefits. The questions are why are we not taking Sabbath? Why? Because we're so busy? Someone said, I need another day. You ever say, I need 10 more hours in a day? No, you don't. You just get a packet full of more stuff, right? Unpack what you got. It's like people. I need another shed. My garage is full. The shed's full. I'll build a bigger shed. Then we're going to take it. Then we're going to go to the storage units. How about just getting rid of some stuff? You know, how about taking the 24 hours God gave every one of 168 hours in a week? Everybody's got the same. And 1 hour a week in church ain't it. He wants you to take a Sabbath. He wants you to rest. Why? Because he knew we couldn't go on. God don't need to rest. He was just showing us the way. It's like parents, we show our children the way, hopefully the right way. We're teaching them. And that's what God is doing for us. He's teaching us how important Sabbath is to rest. You know, I used to wonder why people fall asleep in church. You know why people fall asleep in church? Because this is the only time they stop. And they settle down. And they're just no cell phone, no TV, no phone calls, no nagging, Dude, this is the only time you're stopping. Right? You're just finally resting, so you get here and it's quiet, it's peaceful. And that's why we fall asleep in church. I really think that's why a lot of people fall asleep. This is the only time for Shabbat. When we finally power down, we walk through the doors, man. I love just walk through. We go hiking, we go on a vacation. I throw that phone away. That phone will drag you down. Man, we need this. We need this time. Let's close.